Hey ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. So in here I want us to utilize the add to favorite, and once I right click like this, here it says add to favorite, right? But if the thing is already added to favorites, it should say remove from favorites. Okay. Cool. Also, I want us when we right click on something we can't download, the download button should just disappear altogether. So that can be done as well. So let's start with the favorite thing. So here we can favorite, we shouldn't be able to favorite folders either, I think, since here in favorites we are not ready to start coding for that. So we'll remove this here the same way we removed that there. So it's going to be easy by just doing the same thing again. So I'm going to go back to here. Let's go where we are loading the table. And in the same way we allowed the download link here to happen, we're just going to duplicate this. So duplicate. So instead of download link, let me change the word download to favorite. So favorite link. So this remains. If the type is not folder, then we add that favorite thingy, which is, where is it? Actually, object file name, that's good. The star is here. Oh, so there's somewhere where we are adding the star already, so we can utilize that instead. Star is equal to if rows.favorite is equal to 1. Okay. So this is where things are happening, right? Now let me just do this. Let me do what to do here. Let star is equal to, okay, I'm going to lower this a little bit and duplicate this and remove the let since we've already created it here. So say let star is equal to emptiness, like that. Okay, then I will move my if statement, copy that to there. Okay, so this should only happen if this is not a folder. So move that in, and that sorts the problem. Then we can remove this I had created. That is enough now. Great. So let's come back. Let's see. Refresh, and there are no more stars on the folders. That is great. Now we go to the right click menu. Before we make anything disappear or change, I want to be able to click on add to favorite. So what I would do is add a function that does exactly that, add to favorite. So the same way we have this download file, let me duplicate. There's an extra comma here. We'll say add to favorites. All right, so whatever is selected we want to add to favorite, and this is how we get the selected row here. So to add to favorite we have to use what do we use here? We have to use the actions.send. So where is the action.send? There's the upload.send, no, not this one. The action.send. There it is, action.send object. So this is usually what we send, the data type and other required information. Okay, so I just undid, so it brings me back here and redid again. So instead of all this, we will send the ID of the item we want to favorite. So Here I'm going to say ID, sorry, used to I don't want to, okay, what I would do is, let me just create an object. So say let obj is equal to empty object, and then we say obj.id is equal to this right here, because this is the actual ID of the item. Now we need to know already if the thing is in favorite mode already, so that we change it back, but it shouldn't matter here. We can do that checking on the PHP side, so that's fine. We just send here, and then we say obj.data type is equal to add to favorites. That's what I'm going to call it. So we just need to know adding to favorite and the ID of the item we're adding to favorite, and that's it. Then we can do action.send and then send that object. Okay, as simple as that. Then once we are done, we will have to refresh the table. So let me come down here to action.send, and what happens to the result? We go to the handle results section here. Here we're not even checking to see what's going on. I'll mute the console.log for now, I don't need it. So object.success, okay, then table refresh. Okay, I think this is good enough. So I'm going to go to app.api.php and let's do some actioning here. So there's this new folder here. We can just duplicate this one at this point, Ctrl+Shift+D, and change that to add to favorites. So if it's on here, this is fine. We just need to check if item is already favorited, right? Okay, so we do that by reading from the database. So first of all, I want to grab the ID from the post variable. This is all we're gonna need at most. Maybe I can put, let me remove this. What did I do? ID, like that. Let me move that question mark over here. So that in case, actually, this should go in here. So that if this does not exist, we put a 0 there. I don't need anything else. All I need is to grab the row. Let's run a query. Let me create that query first. So we're gonna go query is equal to, then we do a select all columns from my drive where user ID is equal to, we're gonna create a user ID and we're gonna say and ID is equal to ID and limit 1. Alright, so let's create the user ID as well. So we will go user ID is equal to, so we get this from this session of course. Do I already have that somewhere? Yes, I do. So I'm going to grab that code. That's exactly what I need. Pretty cool. Now, since I use this quite a bit, I could have just put it at the top of the page so it's always there. That way I don't need to worry about it, but you can refactor your code that way. So there we go, user ID, and that should both be correct, and then we grab that row. Now, if the row was true, then we can move this in. Now, if we didn't find anything, we don't have to show an error or anything like that. We can just ignore it because this is not really a critical operation of the app. It's just to add to favorite. If it fails, we can just quietly ignore it. So here we'll say row, and let's see, row is equal to the first result. All right, so we do grab the first result, and first we need to know if favorite is true or not. If we go to the table itself, there is favorite column. If it's 1, we change it to a 0. If it's a 0, we change it to a 1. So we can do that by just negating that value. So we're going to say favorite is equal to, let's grab the 1 in the row, favorite, and then we negate it. So we just put a not at the beginning here, which will flip it between 0 and 1. If it's a 0, it becomes a 1. If it's a 1, it becomes a 0. So then the query here becomes something else. So I'm going to use the select query because it's very similar to what I'm about to do here. Like so. The where clause especially. So the rest of this is update my drive, and then we say set favorite is equal to favorite where blah blah blah, etc, etc. That should do the trick. As simple as that. So go back here, let's refresh, and let's try this, right? So I'm going to right click and say add to favorite. That didn't work. So let's inspect our console for any errors. Let's see what's happening. What is all this? Let me right click again and try add to favorite. What's going on? Things not happening. What's going on? Oh, you know, this is one thing I did not think about. Wait. There's an offset here which I didn't think about. Oh no, how could I miss that? You may not have noticed this, but if I right click on an item like this, while the scroll bar is on, it actually throws this thing off. Look at that. So it's on the wrong side because the scroll bar isn't right. But if I'm at the top here, I haven't scrolled anywhere, it works. So we need to take the scroll bar into account when doing this. But anyway, let's make sure things are working. And it doesn't seem that way. So back to our HTML page. Let's see, is it add to favorites? The table did not even refresh, so what is going on? I'll remove that. We didn't see an error, so things don't seem, I think it just didn't send the data. So what could be the reason? Wait a minute, I'm looking for the table add to favorites. This is the data type, right? Data type, copy that. Let me make sure I didn't miss that. Paste, yeah, that looks about right. So maybe, why isn't it refreshing though? Let me refresh the page. The table does not refresh. Okay, so in this case where you don't get any errors, nothing, everything is just quiet, you just need to know whether, oh, sorry, my bad, I didn't actually tell it to find this function. You know, it's easy to forget these things. So let's go to the submenu itself. We need to put a event listener on this guy. So we didn't do that. On click, add to favorites, but we need to tell it which, that's the table object dot add to favorites. So refresh, right click, add, and there it is. So it works as intended. And if I go now, I have those files in here in the favorites, which is awesomeness. If I try this, might work, but we need to know first of all if this is a folder or not, so we can ignore it. So let's go ahead to this part. Let's see. Table object, so add to favorite. So we need to exit So we can check what this one right here, all right? So here I'm going to say if, right, this dot favorite, dot file type is equal to folder, then we return. So we don't go ahead. If it's a folder, nothing will happen. So if I right click and click there, nothing happens. Right click, click there, nothing happens. It doesn't refresh the table, as you can see, which means it doesn't work. But that happens. Okay, awesomeness. Now to deal with this thing that's a nuisance. There's some window things that can help us to check and see how much of the scroll bar has moved, if any. So what I want to do is go to the console again, delete what's in the console. Now here there's a section to run some code. If you don't see it, if I close it here, you can click on this little book here if you're using Mozilla. I don't know how to get on that using Chrome. I don't use Chrome. So when you go down to that side, you can type some code. Now I want to see what options are available in the window. So I'm going to say window dot, and then I get all these suggestions. This is what you can do if you want to find out what are the possible functions or properties you can have from a specific object that is running in the JavaScript. So what I'm looking for is something that says scroll something. So there's a scroll max, scroll Y, scroll to, scroll X. So if I select any of these, it will tell me its value. So scroll to is an action, a function to go to a specific location. That's where you can automate your scrolling if you want. Let's see scroll Y. What does that say? If I run this, it should give me a value. So that value says 64. Now I'm going to try and scroll this. That way I run it again and see if the number has changed. So as you see, the number has changed from 64 to this, so which means this is actually telling me how much we've scrolled. If I go to the very top and play that again, it says 0. If I go down here, it gives me the maximum number. So that's the property I need, the scroll Y. So as you can see, if I scroll here, it says 0, which means no adjustment should occur. So we should just add to the Y of this. Then if I go down here, it shows me a different number, which means we should add to that Y. So window.scrollY is our property. So let me see where the submenu shows up. Where is the code for the submenu? This is why having these objects is important. That way the code is a bit more organized. Let's see where. Submenu lives over here. So submenu.show. So there's this, and then there's this part that shows us the Y position. So we just need to add window.scroll Y. Is it double L? Scroll double L, capital Y. So let's do that. Scroll Y, and then let's add that. Now since these are numbers and this is text, it's better it starts with this. So I'll put those in a bracket. So when there's no scroll bar, this value is 0. So it's going to add nothing. But as we scroll, it's going to add to that scrolling. So let me refresh. And let's see if things are working as intended. So if I refresh, you see now it's accurate. Even when I scroll, I almost forgot about that, right? If I hadn't seen it through the scroll bar, I wouldn't have known about it. Alrighty then. So this is awesomeness that's going on here. The only thing now is we want to change this value to say something else, like instead of add to favorites, it should be something like remove from favorites if, because that's what's going to happen. If I click this one now, it will be removed from favorites. So it should reflect that here. So let's observe our submenu for a second here. So we have this submenu here. There's class 9 there that denotes this, right? But let's add our own class so we can change the contents in there. I'm going to call it JS favorites text, something like that. So in order to get here, I'll get the submenu ID and then find the JS favorites text and edit it. So I'm going to go to where we are showing the submenu. So when we show the submenu, that's the right time to do this. Now, before we remove the hide, we can change the text. So you say check if this item is favorited. So how in the world are we going to check that? Well, when we do this, there's something selected, right? Table select, this actually selects, so which means the table is already selected. Now what I want is to copy that formula again, where I grab the ID from rows, right? How did I do that? This is the one right here. So I'll grab all this here, come back here. I don't need all of that, but I don't want to come back and copy a second time. So I'm going to remove all of this. I just needed a way to grab the ID of the selected row, and then from there I can grab the ID of the actual item or the contents. So here I just need to check if it's favorited already. So I'm going to do favorite. Now this can either be 0 or 1. So we can do a check whether to say it's 1 or if it's 0, then we do something else. So here, this should, this should be an if statement. So if my mouse is acting up again. Alright, so if the item is already favorited, let's grab that item, document.querySelector. The ID is submenu of the item we want, and then space to grab the .js favorite text. That's the item we're grabbing, and we'll say dot inner HTML is equal to, and there lies in the rub. This one will be remove from favorites. However, if I duplicate this line, I can go to the top here regardless whether it's added to favorites or not. I need to say add to here. That way we start with that, and then if it's favorited, we change it. And then we display the submenu. So refresh, let's try that out. So that doesn't work. None of that works. So we obviously have an error. We can inspect the console. So there it is, says document, the query selector, that guy is null. Why is it null? Let's see. This is a class name, right? Favorites text. Let's copy that. So there's an S missing here. That's why. Okay, confident this will work now. And there we go. Remove from favorites. Add to favorites. Look at that. Awesomeness, right? Great. Also, we need to check if this thing is a folder or not. Then we can hide the download part here because we don't need it when there's a folder. Now to facilitate that, we're gonna go to the same downloads thingy here. There's a class here, and we're gonna put the hide class there to hide it by default. Actually, that won't work well. What we need to do, but let's see, if I add the hide class, does that have an effect? Yes, so it's gone if I add the hide class. So what we need to do is add it or remove it. But we need a way to grab this. So I'm going to do JS download text. I don't know whether to call it text or button because the text itself is here, but hey, download button. Let's do that. So I'm going to go back to where we show the submenu and do a similar test. So down here. Now at this point, we already have this ID and we can get whatever column we want from there and do what we want with it. So first of all, when we do this, I'm going to duplicate that and get the download button div and set the class list dot add the hide class, like so. Okay, then copy this one more time. Now if it turns out, so we first hide it, but then if it turns out that we didn't need to hide it, then we show it. So duplicate the if statement, and this time I'm checking for the file type. So if the file type is equal to folder, then we keep it hidden. But if it's not equal to folder, then we show it. So I'm gonna paste that and remove the hide class. Awesomeness. So if I now refresh, you see if I right click here, no download. We should also remove the add to favorites actually. So right click here, there's a download button and it says remove. So one more thing, we should just remove the favorites thingy here, and we can do that as well by just adding a way to capture it here. So JS favorites button. So this is the button, this is the text. Great. So back to that section right here where we did the same thing. I'm gonna get the I have a problem with this text. Favorite button, then hide it. So copy that. And then I'm gonna come to favorite it. If it's not a folder, we show it, right? So I will paste here. Wait, if it's not a folder, we show. Yes, true that. Let's remove. Goody. Okay, so refresh, right click. Okay, so we have a problem again. Probably something is null. Yes, it says no, so it couldn't find it. Let's figure it out. So it's favorites and favorites. Let's try that. Yep. Very good, right? Good. So everything working as intended. Alright guys, hopefully you've learned something new, and I will see you in the next video.